All right, since we've covered the general tab on the users, we're going to go ahead and move over to the personal options. So you notice that I clicked on personal options here on the screen. And now I see some new features that weren't on the other page. And these are all features that you can manage for the user, but these are also the features that the user can manage from their call manager. All of them except one. There's only one that they can't change, and that's that ring type. That's right below their call stack. So what is the call stack? The call stack is the number of calls a person can take simultaneously. So in this case it's set to 3. So the fourth call going to the phone would immediately go to voicemail. It would not ring the phone. That is typically the standard call stack of 3 on the phones, and we don't typically change that. Now the user does have the ability to change that, so you have to be careful on that. If they're complaining they're not taking any calls. The next option down there is that ring type. So there are 4 rings available on every phone. So you have standard, ring 2, ring 3, and ring 4. The user could edit that if they go into the options on the phone itself, but most users don't spend the time trying to change their ringer. So if they want to change their ringer, they can ask you to change it for them as well. The next option is off-hook preference. You can see that it's marked to speaker. So we have 4 options there. We have headset. Now that would be a corded headset. The next one would be a wireless headset. And the third option of the headsets are the Bluetooth headsets. So again, this is going to preference as soon as they dial from the call manager. What am I going to preference to play through that audio, whether it's playing the voicemail or making a phone call. The next option down there is hands-free mode. What is that? That is the ability to turn off the dial tone. So all it does is literally turn the dial tone off on the phone. So if you listen real quick, I've got a dial tone on the phone here. You hear that? All it does is turn that dial tone off, and now every time they go off hook, it's just going to be silent. But the phone still works. We've had people complain in the past that, hey, I lift the handset and there's no dial tone. Well, what they've done is they've turned on the hands-free mode. That mode should typically be used for a wireless or a cordless headset so that you don't have that dial tone in your ear. The next one is call waiting. Everybody knows what call waiting is. It's the ability to get a second indication when you're on the phone of another call. And then the trunk group access code, you can leave that alone, but primarily it's going to be set to PRI because that is typically your standard mode of dialing is through a digital trunk. The next option down there is mailbox for recorded calls. That's pretty straightforward. If you are having someone else get your recorded calls, that's where you put that option, and it's going to deliver those voicemail messages in their mailbox and not the person that actually is hitting the record button. Now, programming IP phone buttons, depending on what phone you have, whether you have a 530, a 560, a 265, or a 565, there are some programmable keys. Typically, we only program 1 or 2 buttons on that phone. And if you want to do that, then you go ahead and click on this IP phones button. And I will go ahead and I'm going to move away from the screen, and you're going to see it's going to bring up a new screen. You'll notice that the first one is grayed out. You cannot change the first button on every phone. You have to have at least 1 call appearance, and that is basically the first 3 calls. Remember we talked about the call stack? Well, that would be those call appearance buttons. So I usually start at the bottom. So let's say I want to make a page button on the phone. I'm going to click on the page there, and then I'm going to type in the word page so that on the phone it'll display page when I hit save, and then on that 6th button on the phone you're going to see a page button appear. So that's how you would program individual buttons. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the screen I was already in. Alright, so we're back in personal options. We actually had just programmed an IP phone, and we moved back to here. Now, this programming call manager toolbar will be covered in a later training, so we're going to skip that for now. External assignment. External assignment is the ability to set what destination goes for the Find Me. So you'll notice we have a Find Me destination, and you can have up to 2 of those Find Me destinations, as well as setting the number of rings for that Find Me destination. Again, these are all features that the user would want to be assigning on their own, and you're there just to help them in case they have a problem, or maybe they have any trouble adding the phone number, then you can go ahead and add it for them. You'll see that you are going to want to use an external number, and you're going to put it in the same format that we talked about early, 9+1, the area code, and the phone number in order to assign that primary Find Me destination. The number of rings should normally be set to 3 because you don't want it to ring longer than what it takes for the cell phone voicemail to answer. So we always usually leave that around 3. Now there are some options that are available in Find Me that you want to be aware of. The first one is you always want to send that caller ID. You want to have the phone number of the individual that's calling into your extension number to be visible on the Find Me destination so they know who is calling them. Now Enable Auto Find Me gives them the ability to not have to go and press 1 while they're listening to the person's voicemail message. It's automatically going to just go and find that individual. Now this feature right below is Enable Recorded Call Name for Find Me, and it says here when caller ID is not available. So we now can ask the end person, the person that's calling in, the user, the outside destination is going to call in, and if they are not sending the caller ID information, we can now prompt them to record their name so that you can actually do that screen transfer. And then you can force that recorded name even if caller ID is present. So that's pretty straightforward there. External assignment, very straightforward. If you turn that on, then this is the phone number that they're going to be using in their external assignment. Typically, that's the feature called Office Anywhere on the Call Manager. So you put the number in there, and that would allow them to then transfer all their calls to an external phone. So I'm going to go return to personal options. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to take me back to the top of the page. So that's everything that there is in individual users. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next lesson. Thank you.